Hey, in this video we're going to look at the Pythagoras Theorem, and what it is a way to connect three sides of a right angle triangle. So first, I put a lot of emphasis on right angle triangle. If you do not have a right angle triangle, so basically this, if you don't have it, then you cannot use this theorem. So what is it? It is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. What is a, what is b, and what is c? They are the three variable names that you would assign to each of the sides of the right angle triangle. So, for example, a and b can be any of the two that are touching the right angle. So you have this vertical one, so I'm gonna like this one over here, and you have the horizontal one. A and b, as long as they're one, like both of these, it doesn't really matter which one's a, which one's b. So this can be a and this one can be b, or opposite, so this one can be b and then this one can be a. Once again, it does not matter as long as those are the ones touching the right angle. And obviously, if you have one more side left and you have one more variable left, that has to be this side, so c is this side. And also, a way to check if you placed c in the right spot is if you draw this arrow like this. C must be opposite to the right angle that you have here. So C is also called the hypotenuse because it is the longest side of this right angle triangle. But that's basically it. If you have a right angle triangle, and once again, right angle, main emphasis, you have to check for it first. If you have it, then you can use the Pythagoras theorem, which has three variable names for the three sides on it. And that's basically it. And yeah, let's actually move to a few questions that use this theorem to solve for one of a missing side. Okay, question number 1. Here we have two sides. This side on the left is 3 units long, and then this side on the bottom is 4 units long. And I guess this is a question mark because we are trying to find how long this side is. Okay, so first, I notice that there's a right angle. That's my first thing to look at. So I'm gonna, since I noticed it, I'm gonna write down the Pythagoras formula. So a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Pretty simple so far. This is something you have to memorize. It's not going to be given to you, but it's pretty easy to memorize because they're letters, A, B, C. They're not anything difficult to memorize. So yeah, like I said, when you look at A and B, it doesn't matter which one is A and which one is B, as long as they are touching the right angle. So I can either call this A and this B, or vice versa. So I can either call this A and this B, or this A and this B. Once again, I'm just going to go with the first one, but it does not matter because A and B are both touching the right angle. Okay, so that's that. And then obviously, if this is A and this is B, what are we left with? We are left with C, which is going to be this side. But also to check it, C has to always be opposite of the right angle. So if it's opposite, that means you are correct. So this is C. And now let's start. So we already know that A is equal to 3. That was given to us in the question. A is 3. And same thing for B. B is 4. Okay. But then for C, that's the part we're trying to find. So C is question mark. I'm going to write that down too. So C is equal to question mark because we do not know it yet. Okay. Now let's actually use the formula over here. I'm going to start plugging stuff in. So since I know A is equal to 3, I'm going to put 3 over here. So 3 squared. I just put 3 instead of A. And then since B is equal to 4, same thing. So instead of B, I write 4. So 4 squared. And then obviously put the plus sign and equal to sign. But then since we do not know C, I'm going to keep it as C. I'm not going to change the value of it. So I'm going to keep this as C squared. After that, let's actually start solving. What is 3 squared? 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is equal to 9. 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is equal to 16. And then C squared, you cannot really multiply that, so let's leave it as C squared. Okay, and then after that, 9 plus 16, how much is 9 plus 16? It is 25. So 25 is equal to c squared. Okay, last step of the question, after finding out what c squared is, so I'm going to rewrite this actually just to make it look nicer, but c squared is equal to 25. If we are trying to find c in the question, c squared is not going to help because I know what c squared is, but I don't know what c is. So to do that, how do you get rid of the square on top? You square root both sides of the equation. So opposite of a square is a square root. So the square and the square root go away, so you're left with c. And then the square root of 25 is just 5. So c is equal to 5. And that makes sense because now if you square c, let's actually erase this step. If you square c, you are going to get 25 because 5 times 5 is 25. So we just found out what c is, and that is your answer because that was what the question was asking for, to find c, and we found it. So we are done. Let's move on to another question. Okay, question number 2. This time we have this side over here is 10, and then this side over here is 9. The most important step first is to find out where the right angle is. So is there a right angle? Yes. Does that mean I can use the formula? Yes. So I'm going to write down a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. After that, so we always said that the two sides touching the right angle are called A and B. So what are the two sides? It's not this one. This is not touching the right angle, but it has to be this one and this one. Once again, it does not matter which one you call A and which one you call B. So I'm going to call this one A and this one B. And obviously, if you already used up A and B, this one must be C. But let's check it. Is it opposite of the right angle? Yes, it is. So C is correct. And then A and B, we have placed all the variables in the correct space. Okay, now let's actually solve it. Pretty simple. In this question, we are trying to find B because that's missing, but then we have A and we have C. So I'm going to write it here. A is equal to 9, B is equal to question mark, and then C is equal to 10. Let's actually plug these in. So A is equal to 9, I'm going to put that here, so 9 squared. B is unknown, so we're going to leave it as B squared. I'm going to leave this as B squared, and then C is equal to 10, so 10 squared. Once again, all I've done is that I put A for 9 and C for 10. That's all I've done in this step, okay? After that, it's pretty simple. Let's start solving. So what is 9 squared? 9 times 9 is 81, okay? B squared, you can't really find what that is, so we're going to leave it as B squared. And then 10 squared is 10 times 10, which is equal to 100. Okay, so after getting this step over here, there's only one more step to do, but it consists of multiple steps itself. So what you have to do now is find out what B is, which is obviously what the question is asking for. But if you have an equation, which we have right now, it's easy. You just have to follow the algebra steps to solve for the question. So find out what B is, and I'm going to put down the link to my BEDMAS video for algebra, because that will help you solve a question like this. But if you want to find B, you want to solve for B. So how do you get rid of this 81? You subtract 81 from both sides of the equation. So this goes away. You're going to be left with B squared is equal to 100 minus 81, and then 100 minus 81 is equal to 19. So B squared is equal to 19 so far. Okay. How do you get rid of the square? Pretty simple. You take the square root of both sides. So do this, square root, and then you'd find out that B is equal to the square root of 19. In this question, we are left with kind of a weird number, which is the square root of 19, because not all answers are going to be nice. In the first question, we had an answer of 5, because I made the question to be like that. Not all questions are going to have nice numbers. In this case, this is a correct answer. Just because you have a square root sign, it doesn't mean it's wrong. It's still possible, it's still a valid answer. So this is completely valid, and it is our final answer. The only reason we would get rid of the square root sign is if the number inside is a perfect square. Like, for example, if you take the square root of 16, this is 4, obviously. Square root of 25, this is 5. Stuff like that. But if you have a weird number inside the square root, it is fine to leave it as is. So this is our final answer, and we are done. Let's move on to question number 3. Okay, question number 3. In this question, we're asked to find h. In this case, h is the height. So we're asked to find the height of this triangle. First off, you might say, okay, this is already a tough question because I don't see a right angle. You'd be correct because, like I said, to use the Pythagoras Theorem, I'm going to write it up here. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. You have to find a right angle first. I'm going to rewrite the b. So yeah, okay, we have to find the right angle first. In this case, can you see a right angle? No. This side is not a right angle, this side is not a right angle, and then this side is not a right angle as well. So what can we do? This is a trick question. You will definitely see this in your school at some point. But to actually solve this problem, if you want to find the height, you can kind of consider this part of the triangle as a triangle by itself. So once again, this is a trick question. I know it because I've done it before. And after watching this video, you should know it because you have seen me do it. Okay? So, like I said, if you draw the right angle yourself, which I'm doing right now, and then split off this triangle to be what we have here, split the triangle in half, then you can actually solve this question. But then you might ask, okay, how is that going to help? And how would we know what this side is, for example, and what this side is? If you notice, this is an equilateral triangle because we have these lines over here. So if it's equilateral and one side is 10 centimeters, it means that this side is going to be 10 centimeters as well. And then this side is going to be 10 centimeters as well. And it's always nice to draw your findings on the picture because it helps you keep stuff on the page instead of keeping it in your mind, which you might forget later on. Okay, so after that, let's do what I said. Split off the triangle kind of into a right angle triangle like this. Okay, and then obviously now we would have a right angle. And then what is this long side over here? This side is going to be 10 because all I'm doing is I'm going to copy it from down here, up there to down here. So this is going to be 10 centimeters as well. Okay, and then we're trying to find the height, so I'm going to keep this as h. But then what is the bottom side? If you say 10, if I write 10 over here, you are wrong. This is wrong because this entire side is 10. But if you take half of that side, you want to divide it by 2. So what is 10 divided by 2? It is 5. So this side must be 5 centimeters. Once again, how did I find that? If you know that the entire side is 10, but you split the triangle in half, that means this is going to be 5, and this is going to be 5. Because totally, they give you a 10, and we know that we put it in half because it's an equilateral triangle. Okay, so that's that. So we have this triangle now, and as you can see, we can probably notice that you can solve this now using the Pythagoras Theorem because we have a right angle, which we need, and then we have two sides, and we are trying to find out what the third side is. Okay, so let's solve it now. First, let's name each side. Opposite to the right angle triangle, right angle is going to be C. And the other two, it doesn't really matter which one you call A and which one you call B, but I'm going to call this as A and this as B. Okay, so in this case, A is equal to our height, H. B is equal to 5 centimeters. I'm just going to write 5, not centimeters. We can add the unit at the end. And then C is equal to 10. Let's plug that in to our formula. So A is equal to H. So I'm going to write down H squared plus, in this case, B is 5. So plus 5 squared is equal to, in this case, C is 10. So 10 squared. Okay. Now let's actually solve this equation and then find out what H is. So first, let's kind of get rid of these square roots over here. So what is 5 squared? That is 25. So I'm going to write down H squared plus 25 is equal to 10 squared, which is 100. 10 times 10 is 100. Okay, now you have to just solve for H. Once again, I'm going to put the link down for the algebra video because that will help you solve these questions if you are stuck. But how do you get rid of 25? You subtract 25 from both sides like this. Okay, so this goes away, and then you get H squared is equal to 100 minus 25, which is equal to 75. Okay, and then one last step. If you have H squared, but you want to find out what H is by itself without the squared, you would take the square root of both sides. Kind of like that. So the square and the square root go away, and then your answer to H is just the square root of 75. I copied this over here, I literally put it down here without doing anything to it. And this is an okay final answer because we do not know what the square root of 75 is. It's not a perfect square. So it's fine to leave it like this, but we are missing one thing, which is the unit. Since in this question, we got that these are centimeters, that means our final answer for the height must also be centimeters. So H is equal to root 75 centimeters, and that is the final answer, and we are done now. And that's it for this video. But yeah, once again, I'm going to put the link for the algebra video in the description if you need it. And if you liked it, leave a like because it helps me. And yeah, that's it. So thank you.